Let's go again. She was trying to be nice to you.
It's not working.
All right, take two.
You'll be punished.
Welcome to the Grappling With podcast. Dr. Chris Hardy and William Walker
at
will
least
take
2
a deep
minutes to
dive
talk
into
about my
topics
inner
covering
thighs.
wellness and prevention,
Gone.
performance, recovery, and
Oh, they're
injury
still
management.
there.
Our
Trust
mission
me.
is to provide the latest science-based information
pervert.
to help
No.
you get the most out of your grappling journey, both on and
more
off
like
the mat,
PTSD.
and help you overcome any challenges
It's
you
more
may
like
be grappling with.
PTS. Hey.
Dr. Hardy is
Hey.
a licensed physician and
You know
BJJ
what? Out of
practitioner, but the contents of the
50-something
podcast are meant for
episodes, that's the first
educational
time I've ever
purposes
done
only.
that, so.
Should not be taken as medical advice. Please seek out personalized care from your own medical provider prior to implementing.
I'm glad
At least
we
I
care.
got it now.
Or intervention.
I'm glad we care about this
Bill is a
disclaimer.
licensed buffoon. He says things that are a little
This is the
squirrely.
important
Do
one.
not hold these things against his gym mates, his family, Chris Hardy, Harry Hardy, or anybody at his gym.
Hold it all against Olivia.
So I'm actually glad that we had to restart this, and
Started saucy.
yeah. Let's not revisit your anatomy like you did. That was really disturbing. No, Olivia, I think it worked out best.
Okay, good.
I really do. I think that you not pressing record actually worked out well.
Good.
Because I already have a little bit of post-traumatic stress from that 2 minutes of conversation, and I don't want to give it to everyone else.
Well, just so people know, I was talking about the veins in my thighs.
Yeah.
How did we even get on that topic in the first place?
I don't know, but we probably should. Don't encourage him.
It's a good question.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, today we are going to get a little saucy and talk about ways to not be a douchebag training partner. We got a lot of new people that listen to this podcast, new to jiu-jitsu. Either they just started their journey or they're going to start, they're interested. We'll do a poll sometime to ask, like, how many are brown belts or purple belts, white belts, whatever, because that'd be interesting to know. But
Before we talk about that,
Yeah.
there's a question.
we had a good question that came in that I just want to make sure we touch on.
Okay.
And that's someone was listening to some of the original episodes, the early ones, where Brittany Hinojosa was going down her fat loss journey, and you guys put a glucose monitor on her, and they were they're going down the same road, and they're wondering which glucose monitor did you use?
Well, her doctor, who's also my wife, Carrie, prescribed it. It was one of the prescription ones, and I can't remember what model it was. They do make them. You can go to different sites, and I think you can get them without a prescription, but you got to sign up for some kind of nonsense. I wasn't super impressed with the reporting of the values and how it was organized with that. I think it reads okay, and honestly, I think once the technology gets there where it's a little better with reporting, in other words, I was a little disappointed with the kind of data we were getting. I would just suggest to people, why don't you just go get one of the regular non-continuous monitors? You
Unit
get them
brands.
super cheap. There's like, gosh, man, there's a ton of them. You can get them on Amazon for glucose monitors. There's so many different brands. I think they're all about the same.
Okay.
Look at the reviews on there. You can get them between like $30 and $50.
So the
And-
prescription ones aren't.
Well, the continuous glucose monitor, I don't think is quite there yet, like I thought it might be.
Okay.
As far as giving us the kind of data that I wanted to get to justify that over just doing the traditional. Let me just do, 1 and 2 hours after I eat. Let me just do a real quick stick, right? And and just for, so you don't have to have that thing on your arm the whole time. Now, once it improves, and I think once the market takes over, and I don't know if the FDA is involved in trying to regulate those things for some squirrely reason.
Yeah.
I don't know, but once the market takes over and there's more competition, I think that's going to improve. We're going to have better compatibility with smartphones and stuff like that.
Liv, do you know the brand, the one we used?
I could probably look it up, but
You were tracking.
what's interesting is the fact that, like, in Canada, you can buy them over the counter.
I know.
In the U.S.,
I
it has
to be
prescribed.
Well, yeah.
Is that Bill Gates?
No, it's the FDA. And
AKA Bill Gates.
Well, I mean, that's a whole nother podcast. I'm trying to not to go on a rant about the FDA right now.
I like it. I can see your chest
I
getting
thought it was like a
built up.
Dex something.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of brands out
You
there,
know,
but
we'll put the one that we use in the description of the YouTube.
But I will just tell, just for simplicity, you can just get the traditional one where you actually do the sampling, and just do it at certain times.
That's what we were doing.
Yeah, and it works well, and you just write it down, and it's fine.
And I think we also, a big thing was being consistent when you're taking your samples, you know, timing wise and all that kind of stuff.
And that's the advantage of the continuous glucose monitor, because then all you'd have to do is, hey, this is my meal time, and you just record that, and then you go back and kind of look at the data, right?
I think it was called Dexcom.
Dexcom.
We'll put a link to the one that we did.
Yeah.
It worked for us, and maybe it's a pain in the butt, I guess, a little bit
the one that we use.
Prick yourself every time, but you kind of get used to it, especially if you got a bigger goal in mind.
Yeah, and then you don't do it for a long time. Just do it for a week or so, right?
Yeah. Also, shout out to Hal Teague.
Yeah.
At Flow. I sent him our podcast like a very narcissist person that I am, because he was asking who's like a good creator and podcaster and stuff like that.
And you said, "Oh, I am."
I said, I'm a physician. I'm a black belt. I'm with a black belt that's that does the podcast as well.
You impersonated me.
Special needs. What?
You said you were a physician?
Yeah. I am a physician.
Of
professor.
You're
jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And my wife is a purple belt, and
but you know, so you're gonna
producer.
Are you practicing medicine without a license then?
I'd like you to stay on my personal life.
Okay.
How about that? Okay. Ace.
Hey, that's fine. I can give you other, we can say you're an engineer.
You want me to start talking about my thighs again? Because I'll do it.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That'd be cool.
So we'll put a link to the one that we use, but it sounds like the one that she was using, it's probably not worth the squeeze.
And you just went back to that when you're talking about how, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Stay with us.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's a bitch. I get it. But dang.
Anyway, that's cool. You sent that to Hal.
Yeah,
okay.
I did. He responded too. He said, "This sucks."
No, he didn't.
No, I didn't. He just double tapped and liked it.
Okay.
But I think he might. He said he's going to check it out.
Okay.
So maybe this would be the episode.
I hope not.
Especially, if we had
the original.
You know what?
I'm talking about Bill Gates' boobs.
Let's not live in the past. Okay.
Okay, that's true.
Just joking.
Are we recording?
We are recording.
Good talk. So I'm going to just kick this off.
Wait,
okay.
hold on. We want to talk about the subject though, and how you're a
black belt.
No, you're a slut. You're a
gym slut.
Gym slut.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience with a lot of gyms because I have my home gym, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a familia.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Fernie would say, familia. But because I am his Tio, but I have.
Is Tio auntie?
It's uncle. How dare you? So, I've dropped in a lot of gyms. I've cross-trained a lot. So I've seen quite a bit of different styles of teaching and gym atmospheres and all that kind of stuff. Also, in the last year, or literally a year ago last month, I've been teaching. So, had some experience in that part as well. And then just very good friends with like Andrew, and hear about his experiences. So, not that he's saying don't hold him accountable for anything I say, because I might get saucy.
Okay, let's go.
So, let's just kick it off with don't lie. So, once again, this is things to do or don't do. So,
But most of them are don'ts.
basically, don't do these things, or otherwise you might be labeled a douchebag.
Okay.
First, in no specific order, don't lie or hide about previous experience when you're going to a new gym. As in, don't keep it from someone intentionally that you wrestled for a year or 2 or 3 or 4, that you did 6 months at another gym 3 years ago, that you were a blue belt 7 years ago and you haven't trained in 7 years, or something like this, right? even if you've done a week here, a year went by, you did a week there, but you keep track of jiu-jitsu, stuff like that. It's like, just put it out there that I've trained very little, or I trained for 6 months. I trained a long time ago.
You just don't like the fact of someone misrepresenting themselves?
Yes. I think, if I could, I think there's a reason that upper belts specifically will ask. And that's, we want to know, one, like what to expect, right? How hard should we anticipate you're going to go? Are we going to go? The kind of control that you might have. If you got a blue belt 7 years ago and you just haven't trained, you're going to have a certain level of skill that we need to protect ourselves against. Or if you're just a new, fresh wrestler, you wrestle for 2 years and then you just came into the gym, you're going to have a certain style, pace, intensity that we need to, as old people, need to protect ourselves a little bit with.
I like how you lump yourself in with that.
I got to let you feel comfortable.
I appreciate it.
I was talking about Olivia and I.
Yeah.
You're past old people.
Okay.
Have you heard of Tales from the Crypt?
I've already made that reference about myself.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's not hitting hard on me.
That's true. It just bounces right off.
It is. I'm like, whatever.
What do you think about that?
So to me, I don't know if they're a douchebag for that.
I think we should qualify. I don't think it's always lying. Sometimes I do think there's intentional lying. And
Maybe they're embarrassed.
And then sometimes I think people maybe don't realize that that's like counts as something, like
Yeah.
and so they think, oh, well, it was nothing, so I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I think it's better to err on the side of
Caution. Yeah.
yes.
To
Now,
me,
when I say douchebag, I'm being a little aggressive with the language. Like, if you did this, you wouldn't be labeled a douchebag necessarily.
okay.
But
It's a pitfall, maybe?
if you, it's kind of shitty.
Okay.
Well, it's because you're kind of being deceptive about your experience. So if someone's thinking, oh, it's this
And then you go
brand
past
new white belt, and now you're doing
a
stuff
blue belt's
like
guard a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I mean, if you're actively going in there with malicious intent on being deceptive, that's one thing. But if you're kind of trying to just minimize, like, look, I basically don't feel personally like I really have a lot of experience from my point of view. Someone else may differ in that opinion. To me, if I'm instructing someone, I would kind of want to know their background experience because it's going to change the way I'm going to approach teaching too.
Sure.
Big time. If I have someone with experience, I'm like, hey, yeah, you remember, this is the way you talk to them. Like, hey, remember close guard and this and this, as opposed to a
and
brand.
they look at you and say, yeah, no shit.
Well, exactly. And so it'd be nice that's always nice to know. It's always, it's a courteous thing to do.
Right. So what about the guy that, like, he says he's never trained before, and then you see him passing a blue belt's guard?
Well, if he's just being deceptive just on
Well,
purpose.
maybe he's just shy because he's like, I don't want people to think I'm like the cat's pajamas. But
Well, then you'd ask, like, hey, you seem to have some skill.
no, I've never trained before.
Well, then that's just being deceptive. Then I think that's crossing the line a little bit if they're intentionally being deceptive to someone. But I think you'd have to look at the context for me. I don't automatically. I don't think you do either. I don't automatically assume the intent is to be,
Yeah.
malicious.
Because I mean, I come from that side where I watched jiu-jitsu for a decade plus. I dabbled here and there with my friend Aurelius, or I did a week at a gym in Northgate and got injured, in like 2000 and I don't even know 13 or something like that. So, some MMA experience. So, yeah. And that's why it was difficult for me. Like when people are like, oh, have you trained before? It's kind of a long story. It's like I watch jiu-jitsu like crazy.
But even that, if someone's really familiar, it's easier to, you communicate a little differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would draw the line on if someone's just being actively deceptive and like doing the whole sandbagging type of thing. Sure. Yeah, I think that's kind of a douchey thing to do.
And I think for them, if one of those people are listening that is maybe on the fence about mentioning like how much they've trained or whatever, what can happen is upper belt is going to be able to identify, let's say probably a purple, brown, black, something like that. Definitely brown and black. They're going to be able to identify that at a minimum, there's something going on.
Right.
Right. And most of the time, not everyone, but a lot of the time, an upper belt might take that as like, you need to be corrected.
Sure.
If you know what I mean.
And it depends on the person, right? If some people don't, I personally don't like deceptive people.
Sure.
At all. I just, people that are trying to get an angle on something or trying to, like sociopathic behavior. Try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but if it's obvious, they're just kind of.
That's what I'm saying. What can happen is one of those upper belts can see that and like be like, and the guy still denies it, and then they might put it on you a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's always good just to be very upfront about things in general, about what what you've done in the past. It just helps. It helps you kind of integrate into the gym
for sure,
a lot better.
For sure.
Yeah. So I think to me that's kind of the bottom line there.
Yeah.
But if you were just not a malicious thing, just were kind of embarrassed to even say, I trained a couple weeks, years ago, or you know what I mean? I understand that.
I think some people can be shy.
Totally.
Be like, if I say I trained for 6 months,
they'll expect this of me, right?
And then I get stomped. They're
exactly. So I understand that, but that's an interesting topic though.
Well, you sound like a dad, very even keel and thoughtful, rather than me, where I'm like, I need to hang this guy.
I'm so sorry. I'll make sure I'll change my ways.
Thank you. Put some testosterone in or something. Another thing, this is a little granular, but grabbing the fingers.
Not a fan.
Not a fan. This, now, typically people will correct you right there. But if you're listening to this and you just started, maybe no one has corrected you, you don't know if you do it. You want to try to get all 4 in there, at minimum 3.
Yeah. And if you look at your hand and look where the actual the finger meets
you can hold that mitten up.
But most people are listening.
Oh, true.
But where the finger actually, the base of the finger, what most people think where it meets the hand,
the punching knuckles.
Exactly. Where it's the metacarpal meets the metacarpals.
Yeah, you got it.
That is the kind of place you'd want to grab at the very. Yeah. You don't really want to grab too much higher than that if possible. Yeah. But like you said, at least grab. You definitely don't want to manipulate a single digit.
And we're not even getting into like the rules of sport jiu-jitsu.
For sure.
It's just, this is more etiquette to make it so your friends aren't mad at you.
And you're not hurting somebody.
Right.
It's super easy to break a finger.
Yep. And I ran across this recently.
Okay.
So I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
And they were going single digit grabbing.
Yeah.
And they thought they were Harry Potter. And my finger was a wand. They were taking this thing all over the damn place.
Well, if someone grabbed my index finger like that, I'd just fart.
That's because you're 75 years old.
That was a bad joke. The pull my finger thing. I thought it was funny, and it wasn't.
Of course I know. But it's also... It's so loud.
Thank you.
Of course I know, you dirty old man. But it's an old man joke.
I know.
From the 90s.
The 90s.
Well, I graduated in 88 from high school. So I was a man in the 90s. So
you're not a man. So that's a big one that you can immediately, like, one, you can hurt someone on accident. 2, it's just kind of a douchey thing. It doesn't like work any better.
Yeah, it usually pisses people off because of the danger of, because breaking fingers.
Yeah.
Is not a good injury.
And you might find yourself, you're doing that. And then you're like, oh man, that purple belt like really like went hard on me.
Yeah.
You might have grabbed his fingers.
Yeah.
Think back.
But if you don't know, it's a good time to, and really if we're doing our job as upper belts and black belts, we're going to be kind of monitoring stuff like that too. And just some people just don't know, right? And they get into a flight or fight response and like, oh no, I'm getting choked.
I think most of the time people just don't know that it's there's an etiquette thing going on.
For sure. And most of those rules like grabbing inside sleeves and things like that are there for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
protect you from catching an ass whooping.
Or injuring yourself or someone else.
I'll allow it.
Okay. I like we're being good cop, bad cop. It seems
A little
like.
bit. A little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you fart?
Not right now, unless you actually
You
pull
got
it.
one loaded up?
I always do, unless you pull. Come on, I'm over 50. Of course I do.
Remember my hot dog down a hallway comment?
I know what it is now.
That's your butt.
The funny thing is, my friend, who's also one of my buddies, who's also a doctor, is actually one of the cool ones.
Okay.
He was like, and he's your age, and he looked at me and he's like, "What do you mean you don't know?" And I was like, then he goes, he was trying to like act it out at the clinic, and I was like,
Aggressive.
I'm like, okay, I got it.
Gosh.
So anyway, it was funny.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
moving on. We're going to, a similar topic.
I feel like I'm shitting on every one of the things you put on up here.
You say what?
I feel like I'm just crapping on all these things that you're
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's not going how I really wanted, to be honest. Now, this is primarily in the gi we'll start with.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll go into a no-gi scenario. Heel hooking training partners. Okay.
I'm looking right at you, Big Daddy.
I haven't heel hooked someone under blue belt in the gi in at least a month.
Okay. Under blue belt. Oh my gosh.
My heel hook sucks, so I don't even go for it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
this is something. So I'm fairly progressive when it comes to these kind of rules of like knee barring, lower belts, and wrist locking them.
Yeah.
And
Obviously.
obviously, all that kind of stuff. I think I'm how do I say it? Bring up if you want to go for legs and stuff like that from the very beginning with whoever it is. Now, if you are, let's say, a blue belt and you catch that white belt in a roll and you're like, hey, you want to roll? And then you are saying, hey, you want to do heel hooks? Maybe just don't even do that for their protection.
That's exactly right.
Unless you know that maybe that training partner goes to no-gi, your school teaches heel hooks already, you understand that guy has some sort of knowledge in that position.
Yep.
And even then, I mean, I promote more catch and release anyways, but if you're a white belt coming in and you have some no-gi experience, or you're a blue belt even, or whatever, and you came from a gym and you're going to go visit a gym, or maybe you're going to like potentially start at a new gym and you start trying to heel hook black belts and like whoever, that's a douchey thing to do.
Yeah, that's going to piss people off.
Yeah.
The same thing with the injury. So my thoughts on that in general. It's a really valuable technique to learn. I think you should learn the positions. I like the catch and release thing. You really need to know your training partner really well on both sides.
Yeah.
Because where people get injured, one or two ways. Someone catches the heel hook and then is not like, I mean, I think if you get it and you just put a little bit of, just a tiny bit, just to feel the position a little bit, that should be enough right now, especially in a gi. I mean, the danger is how the other person reacts to it, in my opinion.
Sure.
You know, they're going to try to squirm out in a way that they don't understand and actually really hurt themselves. Especially, inside heel hook or something, you know. Right.
For example, Andrew and I, for years, do heel hooks on each other.
Yeah.
In the gi.
Yeah.
And typically what would happen is maybe he would get my toes and heel exposure, and he would be able to pull his arm back. And a lot of the time, he just holds that position with like some isometric.
That's what
holding,
I'm talking about, right?
Which I can feel the tension.
Yep.
He's not twisting, but he's caught it.
Exactly.
And then at this moment, I have the ability. So in my mind, I'm not going to explode, and like I don't need to, like it's a competition. I don't need to gator roll out, even if I go the correct way, because I know he's holding and I'm almost dead to rights. I'm basically dead to rights. That I can start to rotate the correct way and try extracting the knee, let's say. And as I start that roll or those defenses, if Andrew's just holding it and those initial defenses don't work, boom, I tap.
Right.
It's done.
Yep.
He didn't even apply twisting pressure. He just held. It's almost like when you get a new person and you get them in an arm bar, you break their grip and their arm starts coming back. A lot of the time, I just hold that thing.
Yep.
I have good knee squeeze. I have good back curl. I'm not elevating my hips.
Right.
Not even for a second.
Right.
I have good thumb control. Maybe they're kind of turning their wrists and stuff like that. So I'm just keeping that tension. And then you feel their life leave their body and they now tap.
But that's a good way to do it because they still have a little bit left.
Yeah.
You're not like completely locked out where if they kind of squirm and
The defenses that they know
right.
are not, they're not going to work because they just tried them. And all you did was hold that position.
I think that communication's super important. You'll go to some gyms where that is like an absolute no.
But Andrew and I have thousands of minutes of sparring together.
Exactly.
And it's taken that.
Well, and that's the point, right? And if you're very comfortable and you know, and you really, it's also a trust thing. I know all of you guys, I completely trust with that. The higher level people, I know you're not going to hurt me. And that's the biggest thing with that. Yeah, but that can be touchy depending on, you need to have a good relationship and a good communication on that.
And even it's easy to, let's say you're a blue belt or a purple belt or something like that comes into a gym and you have a lot of leg lock experience. Just because you're going with a black belt or a brown belt or something like that, like someone higher level than you, doesn't mean that they are proficient in those spots.
That's for sure.
Because we are still in we're still in the growing period of leg locks becoming a standard in curriculum.
That's right.
Now, pros, they basically all have good leg lock defense at a minimum, and a lot of time offense as well. Like, active competitors.
That's right.
So we're not talking about them. But what was the word that, not hobbyist? What was the recreational student? Your recreational black belt. Your brown belt, whatever. They still might be a bit behind the curve on some of those things. And especially if they don't know you. If you come in and start grabbing for heel hooks, that it's like, are you just trying to catch me?
You're
like
basically
you
just not, you're also not showing courtesy to someone because you're just assuming something that you shouldn't assume.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
you just ask, you want to do your rules or my rules? That's literally, I like it when people ask that. My rules now, brown belt and up, is knee bars, toe holds are cool. That's first stage. And let's say it's a blue belt and it's like, your rules, okay. Yeah, mine's fine. I'm down with it. You want to do heel hooks? Now I'll answer that question depending on my comfort level.
That's right.
Have I never rolled with this person? No, let's just not do that.
Exactly.
Do I have some ego in play? Yeah, let's go for it. I mean, it's happened. Or I know the person, and I'm comfortable. There's a purple belt there, Jim named Cody. He's got good leg locks, and I'm comfortable. I actually went to him and said, "Hey, I'm trying to get better at these, so go for them." You know. And when I was thinking I was going to do Nogi Worlds, so you can identify those things. But if you're just starting, man, just be upfront about it. Don't try to just catch one and then you can go and be like, I caught that black belt.
And I'd also say at white belt, there's other things you probably want to learn first.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
Let's get straight ankle lock mechanics down.
Well, yeah, let alone positional stuff.
Totally.
And all that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If we're talking about legs, though.
What will happen if you go down the road of something specialized like leg locks in the very beginning of your journey? Is you're going to put so much time into that because you're going to have so much success in the beginning. Because, like I said, a lot of recreational students throughout the colors of belts, even black belts, tend to be still a little behind on leg lock stuff. So if you put 6 months your first 6 months to a year, or you've been training for 6 months, and then you're a white belt, and you put the next 6 months in on leg locks, you're gonna catch some upper belts.
You sure will.
Which is like, you know, you would never do if you didn't.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's easy to get like, ooh, look at that what's that early gratification or
Instant
whatever.
gratification.
Yeah. You know, you're like, okay, let me do that more. And then out of nowhere, well, if someone passes on their knees, you can't get under them, and you just are an absolute helpless fish, you know. So you can actually stunt your growth by having that instant gratification.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's the bottom line is
It's also why I don't teach lapel to like my day class, is because they'll be able to really get like do stuff that people aren't very versed in, have a lot of success, and then they'll rely on lapel stuff. When in my opinion, like lapel has its place, but there's other things that transfer to, there's other techniques that will transfer to other styles more than like lapel will.
Right.
Lapel kind of is off on its own, and same with leg locks, and not a lot of stuff will directly transfer.
Here's a way to sum it up. If you walk in the gym, I've never rolled with you before, your lower belt, and you try to heel hook me, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
Just because we don't have a relationship, I don't know where you're coming from, and automatically I'm thinking you're putting me in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So, I mean, that's the
We agreed on that one.
I know we did.
Yeah. This one's kind of easy. Spiking a partner.
Jeez, dude.
So typically, I think for new people, this is like unintentional.
Well, that's why they have that rule at white belt.
Right. In the sport.
In sport, yeah. There's a whole reason they have it.
Well, if you are new and you get caught in a submission, let's say a triangle, an arm bar, those are very common.
Oh, you're talking about the slam?
Yeah.
When you said spiking, I thought you were going to like driving the head down. Like you caught their head and you're falling backwards
Like
with
a
it.
guillotine. And you,
Like someone's shooting a double with head on the out, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like shucking. Shucking could cause a spike.
Like a slide-by shuck?
No. Like if someone's on like your back and you shuck them into
Oh,
the
yeah.
mat,
Yeah.
they're
if
holding
you-
their arms.
If you're turtled up and they are riding your, like a backpack, like maybe they got hooks in, maybe they don't, whatever, and then you do a super aggressive forward roll,
Yeah.
that could be shitty.
Sure. But you mean like any kind of slam type of thing too?
Yeah.
Like you're trying to slam your way out of a submission or
Yes.
something like that? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or if you notice that as you start lifting and posturing out of a submission, triangle, armbar, or something like that, and you notice that their neck is now off the mat,
Yeah.
don't return them with force.
No.
There's just nothing. Yeah, I mean, sure, that guy should have, or girl should have hooked your leg and should have thought more carefully about it. But we got to protect each other.
Exactly. Yep.
That's a biggie.
That's a pretty easy one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Now I got a little thoughty one.
Oh gosh.
If you are new to a gym, whether you've trained before or not, you need to establish a relationship, right? You need to
Typically.
Yes. So if it's your first bit getting used to people, like let's say you've only trained a couple times, try not to. Banter is all good, especially someone like me. Like I'm pretty easygoing. I make jokes here and there. You might hear like when Haggerty's wrist locking me in the most embarrassing way in front of my wife. I might tell him he's a prostitute to his face or his butt if it's in my face. Happens. Now, that's because Haggerty and I know each other intimately. Okay?
Intimately?
Yes. When a man's butt is in your face,
I want to hear Josh's.
I guarantee he would smile and nod. So, if you're not friends / longer term training partners, don't, when someone's like putting you in like a submission or something like that, don't look at him and say fuck you or you fucking asshole.
What? This is a thing?
It's happened.
Oh, okay.
Now, I think that could be a harmless, unintentionally, like you're not literally like, F you, you know. But there should still be some, especially if it's the instructor.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do it.
Well, if you don't know them.
Uh,
I mean,
right.
if I roll with you and you get me in some bullshit, I'll be like, you freaking piece of shit. You know what I mean, but
I've
know,
heard this before.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but I know
I've heard
you.
this mid-roll when I've like passed your guard or something, and like I hear it. But that's because we have a relationship established.
Exactly.
But if you are new to a gym, whether you're colored belt or brand new,
Visiting a gym.
and you're an easygoing person like myself, like it doesn't matter. Treat new gyms kind of with the highest level of respect that you can.
Yeah.
I think is a safe.
It's kind
way
of
to go.
general social skills too, right?
A little bit.
Where any situation you're kind of new to, I mean, we talk a bunch of shit at our gym.
Yes.
And it's funny and it's good natured.
Mine is very funny.
Well, you might want to ask some other people.
Hurtful.
But no, to your point though, I mean, you know, we do, but it doesn't mean, you know, those relationships have to be developed. Otherwise they're going to be like, that's just weird. Why are you talking like that to me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be concerning. So that's a biggie, I think, is it's easy, especially if an instructor is kind of easygoing and jokes around, to kind of fall into that. But until you really know someone, I think you want to try to maintain that professionalism a little bit. Not that you can't joke with them.
Sure.
But I mean, there's
There's
normal,
certain levels of joking that you can do.
logical, social boundaries that you should probably kind of navigate.
You know, when I call you a piece of shit, you know I don't really mean it.
I do.
It's in a joking manner, even though
It is.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. But if
This
you
was not about you.
I know. I know, but I'm just saying.
This is an intervention.
No.
Andrew, come on in.
But, you know, but if I didn't know you and I was doing that, you'd be like, dude, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
Why is he freaking talking to me like that?
For
You don't know
sure.
me, really. You know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
Well,
agree.
Yeah, it's like treat people how you would treat a stranger you met on the street, or like a friend, an acquaintance. Like I wouldn't joke around that way with them until I knew them well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little odd. But
Good. It's a good point.
this is something that has happened.
Okay.
Now, this can be difficult. Careless movement, right?
What do you mean by that?
Kicking or punching people in the face on accident.
As a byproduct of just kind of flailing and having poor body control?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I think what can happen is if people start, this is not a shot at Hinojosa.
I know she's probably like, really, guys?
Yeah, just putting it out there. But if you're newer and people are making kind of side comments, like, or you notice that you get hit in the, like you kick people in the face a lot, or slap or punch or something. Once again, this is not about Brittany, but especially in the beginning of your journey, like try to take action on being more controlled.
Well, incidental contact is going to happen. I mean,
All the
we get
time.
knees, we get
And we're notorious for saying sorry, because jiu-jitsu people we
like,
say
hey,
sorry.
really sorry about that.
Which we don't need to do, but we still do it.
But it's the person that, you know, it's that, you know, when you're spazzing, trying to spaz your way out of a position, right?
Yeah.
So,
Or it's characteristic. Like, and I don't mean like, I mean constant. Like
Yes.
if everybody you're rolling with is getting kicked or punched in the face or something, and I mean like every single
Right.
time you're training, there
Right.
might be a problem.
Yeah. Like if there's comments being made to you, hey, you kicked me in the face again, or you get this little number right there. And that one right there.
you know,
Those
what's,
are kicks.
you know what's very interesting,
They
though?
were accidental, actually.
I really don't have a problem with this. I'm wondering if people just don't like you.
I was thinking.
Have you ever looked at yourself sometimes? Maybe it's
Every
not
morning.
everyone else.
Every morning I flex in the mirror.
Damn it. You broke my freaking concentration.
I think you don't have a bruising issue because you have lack of blood to your face.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Or do I have blood at all? It's hard to say.
That's true. Hemorrhoids.
All coagulated.
It's all, yeah. Like they mummify.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're old.
Yeah. Just don't have you try to do an IV and dust comes out, that type of thing.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
It's rough.
That's what your farts are like.
You could only imagine, right?
I don't want to. I want to talk about the inside of my thighs again before I talk about your butthole.
No, I'm going to get you in like truck or something like that.
Oh,
We're going to,
rude.
yeah. Anyway.
Do you have any? Because those are actually all mine that I came up with on the way here.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty more.
Oh, there's plenty more. Wash your damn geese. That's a big one.
Yeah. Those hygiene things are something that, you can just go over and talk to someone like, hey,
Yeah.
But the kind of like real just douchey behavior that it's just, just being disrespectful. You're not really, coming in day one and just basically like a know-it-all or something. Yeah. That turns people off. Being a training, one of my biggest pet peeves is, and our gym's really good about this, but I've heard this from other folks that do go to other gyms where there's a couple where the culture seems to be like every sparring match is just like ADCC finals.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like at all costs, we're going to win every time you roll with that person, it's just going to be, and that's not good training.
Yeah.
That's all. And so that kind of thing will turn me off pretty quick. If that's like every single time, it's just like at all costs, we're going to do whatever we have to do to win.
You're going to win that battle.
In the training room.
Right.
Now, we go to competition, all bets are off. Go for it.
And there's a time to, and we've talked about this a few times, which is, if you're trying to ramp up your intensity.
For sure.
Once again, communication.
Absolutely.
You tell your favorite training partner. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine in California that he's encouraged by some of the conversations we have. And he actually said because of the podcast, he's going to buy as much creatine possible and rub it all over his body.
I don't think that's how you get it into your body.
The skin is the biggest organ in the body, so probably.
Okay.
Is it not?
Yeah, but
I rest my case.
Well, you should reopen that case. It's not going to absorb very well.
What if I do it in a hot shower?
Still not going to get the absorption you want.
What if he does it in a hot shower?
Still not going to do it.
You got scientific proof on that?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to see it. Where was I going with that?
I don't know. But creatine's a polar molecule.
You were giving him advice on telling his training partners in the future.
Oh, yeah. Having that communication with like your favorite training partner.
Yeah.
Like someone that is like good to like go hard, but like it's the one that like doesn't always have to. But you tell him, I'm trying to challenge myself here.
Can you put some heat on me? I really want to go.
I'm going to do it to you too.
Yeah.
Now,
absolutely.
Something that we've talked about before is the worry is I'm going to gas out. They're going to beat my ass because I'm going to gas out. Or they're going to go harder and then it's already a tough roll. One, you probably won't gas out like you think, oddly, even though you're more intense. And more intensity doesn't mean, like a lot of time we think that means like, okay, we're nonstop going. It's like, not necessarily. You don't have to have this nonstop pace.
Right.
It's more so in specific moments, don't concede.
Right. Yep.
That's, I find, and it's something that Andrew said to me a while ago when like, he's maybe even on the podcast, but when he's identifying like someone that's becoming ready for brown belt, is every position is stingy.
Yeah.
Half guard.
Right.
Passing the guard. Whatever. It's like their frames are stingy. There's a there is a difficulty and a fight in every position.
Yeah.
Even grip breaking or something like minuscule like that. And that was you can adopt that before you're ready for your brown belt. Adopt that early, and then if it's something that you struggle with, you do it with, like I said, it doesn't have to be every round too.
Right.
You just start implementing that with your favorite training partners, and then you can start implementing it, stretch your comfort zone, and do it with someone that maybe isn't your favorite training partner, but they're okay with going hard. Then the nerves, then your heart's gonna start fluttering, all the blood's gonna start rushing, you're gonna feel flushed, you're gonna feel like you're running out of breath in the first 2 minutes. And then out of nowhere, you're like, oh, okay, it's not as crazy. I'm just in the gym.
That's right.
Regain yourself, calm yourself down in the moment, and keep going. And then out of nowhere, your comfort zone is bigger and bigger and bigger, and you develop those triggers and stuff. Yeah. You got anything on that? Or
No,
what?
it's good advice, man.
Thank you.
Do you have advice for white belts that come in and they're brand new to jiu-jitsu and they decide to go absolutely aggro because they think they're trying to prove something?
Yeah, don't do it. So you should be coming into this to learn the art. Okay. And there is a competitiveness in this art with sparring. Of course there is. But not at the expense of learning it.
Yeah.
And you're just doing yourself a disservice coming in and doing that, because you'll get known. We've talked about this before. You'll get known as like a real spazzy person that's just being super aggressive at the expense of actually learning.
Yeah.
And you never want to do that. There's nothing wrong with intensity and pulling the trigger, but you got to have a foundation developed to do that, right? Yeah. And you're beginning, no matter what your athleticism and all that, you really should be looking at some of the fundamental things coming in as a white belt, learning how to get uncomfortable in bad situations. Because guess what? You may be coming in big and strong, and just happens to be the people you're training with, you're able to just physically overpower, and you feel like you're getting the better of them. You go into somewhere else where you're going to have someone just as big and strong, but also has technique, you're going to get mopped up. And then you're going to be in situations that you've never been in before, and it's not going to be fun. Yeah. So, so really, it's that whole check the ego at the door thing. It really is important. And all of us have an ego.
Yeah.
But have intention to what you're walking through that door to do. Not to try to show how badass you are. So you're trying to learn this art.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Quick episode this time.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else.
I don't either. You shot down what I wanted to do today, so.
It did. Because it was dumb. I'm joking. I wanted to prepare more for it.
Okay.
Because it's actually
that actually is what he said he wanted to be.
That's an acceptable answer.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a good one. It's I misinterpreted what you thought or what you wanted to do, but I'm going to take it in that direction anyways. A little bit.
Okay. I'm sure you will.
Judo versus wrestling.
Oh my God. That is not what I was talking about.
But we'll turn
But that's what you're going to do anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got to be controversial.
Yeah.
Okay. Going to live up to your disclaimer.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you guys got questions, YouTube comments are great. Grapplingwithpodcast@gmail.com is also great. We're going to have Mo on again.
Yeah. By popular demand.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're going to clip out that episode. So, because a lot of people, I had a lot of people tell me they want to send like one story because they know their family won't listen to like a whole podcast. So can we just like clip out like when Zarate almost gets killed? And so we're going to do that too.
That's awesome. Very, very cool.
That's it.
Okay. See you guys.
Peace out.